In Berlin, she played an unbelievable. It's amazing what she's doing, and also it's a good thing for tennis.
2 top 10 victories. Just 48 hours on grass. And a player who, only 3 weeks earlier, had never lifted a professional grass court.
My last semester proved to be very difficult for me, so I hope to prepare and make some improvement.
Title. Then everything changed. On June 19th in Berlin, Alex Eala walked off the court having defeated the world number 2 and the world number 8 in the span of a single tournament. While the headlines celebrated the upsets, something even bigger was happening behind the scenes. In the WTA offices, Wimbledon seedings were being finalized, and history was quietly being written. The number beside her name wasn't just another ranking. It was 29. For the first time in history, a Filipina earned a Grand Slam singles seed. More than a century of Wimbledon, Roland Garros, the US Open, and the Australian Open had passed without a Filipina occupying one of those coveted seeded positions. But the number itself isn't the real story. The real story is the journey that created it. It's the 4 matches in 5 days. The tactical adjustments. The opponent who had beaten her only weeks before, only to be outplayed in the rematch. And now, standing on the opposite side of the net in round 1, another familiar challenge waiting to test just how far she has come. This is the section of the Wimbledon draw that nobody in the locker room wanted. Only 3 weeks before Berlin, Alex Eala had fallen to Aryna Sabalenka in straight sets at the Italian Open. It looked like another valuable lesson for a rising player. Instead, it became the blueprint. The Eala camp studied every point, every rally, every pattern. For weeks later, when the two met again on the grass of Berlin, the difference was impossible to ignore. Alex Eala defeated Aryna Sabalenka 7-5, 6-4. This wasn't a lucky afternoon. It was preparation, adjustment, and execution. Yet even that victory doesn't tell the whole story. Before facing Sabalenka, Eala had already eliminated Donna Vekic in straight sets. That result deserved far more attention than it received. Vekic had entered Berlin fresh off her Queen's Club title, arguably the hottest grasscourt player in the world at that moment. Most analysts considered her one of the favorites for Wimbledon. Eala dismantled her. Then she followed it by defeating Sabalenka. By the time Wimbledon officially confirmed the seedings, the mathematics had already taken care of themselves. Seed number 29 belonged to Alex Eala. As Wimbledon begins today, June 29th, Eala arrives with 9 days of rest since her last competitive match in Berlin. Every practice session has been focused on one objective, being ready for the biggest tournament of her career. Waiting at the top of this section of the draw is the tournament favorite, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka. Her resume speaks for itself. Grand Slam champion. One of the most powerful serves in women's tennis. One of the sport's most feared competitors. She deserves that reputation. But this version of Sabalenka arrives at Wimbledon carrying more questions than previous seasons. Her Roland Garros campaign ended earlier than expected, and she openly admitted afterward that she had fallen into what she described as a very deep, dark hole mentally. In recent interviews, she has spoken candidly about the pressure of expectations and the emotional burden that comes with being world number 1. That doesn't make her vulnerable. It simply reminds everyone that even the biggest favorites walk onto center court carrying their own battles. One fact is equally important to make clear. There has been no verified pre-Wimbledon statement from Sabalenka about Alex Eala. The only public comments she has made regarding Eala have been respectful and complimentary during previous media appearances. This story isn't about rivalry. It isn't about controversy. It's about the draw. It's about momentum. And it's about what happened in Berlin. Because Berlin wasn't built on one upset. It was built over 4 extraordinary days. On June 16th, Alex Eala opened her campaign by defeating Queen's Club champion Donna Vekic 7-5, 6-4. That victory quietly shifted the balance of the tournament before most fans even noticed. 2 days later came Aryna Sabalenka, former Wimbledon champion, world number 2. The same player who had comfortably beaten Eala just weeks earlier in Rome. This time, the script changed. Eala controlled the biggest moments, absorbed Sabalenka's relentless pace, redirected her power with remarkable confidence, and captured a statement victory, 7-5, 6-4. To casual viewers, it looked like an upset. Inside coaching rooms across the tour, it looked like something much more significant. It looked like evolution. Great players don't simply improve. They solve problems. The Eala team identified the weaknesses exposed in Rome, rebuilt their game plan, and returned only 4 weeks later with answers that many established stars still haven't found against Rybakina. That is what separates a breakthrough from a fluke. And by the time her next opponent stepped onto the court, they weren't preparing for the Alex Eala everyone thought they knew. They were preparing for a completely different player. Now, the attention shifts from Berlin to Wimbledon. The victories have already been earned. The history has already been made. The seed has already been secured. What comes next isn't about proving she belongs. It's about discovering just how far this remarkable run can go on the sport's biggest stage. The story stops being about wins and losses here. It becomes about what happens when the results on the court no longer match the expectations beside a player's ranking. After defeating Elena Rybakina, Alex Eala returned less than 24 hours later to face another elite test, world number 8 Aryna Sabalenka. 4 years, Svitolina has been one of the toughest competitors on the WTA Tour. Her game isn't built around overwhelming power. It's built around patience. She absorbs pace, extends rallies, forces one extra shot, then another, until opponents eventually crack under the pressure. That formula has frustrated some of the biggest hitters in women's tennis. Alex Eala refused to play by that script. Instead of allowing Svitolina to dictate the rhythm, she controlled the pace from the opening games, stepped inside the baseline whenever opportunities appeared, and kept the pressure on from start to finish. The scoreboard reflected it. 6-3, 6-4. Straight sets. No deciding set. No lucky tiebreak. Just another statement victory against a top 10 opponent. That was the match that truly changed everything. That was the result that forced the rankings department to recalculate. That was the victory that turned a remarkable week into a historic milestone. Days later, the official Wimbledon seedings were released. Next to Alex Eala's name appeared one unforgettable number: 29. For the first time in history, a Filipina entered a Grand Slam singles draw as a seeded player. Not the first Filipina to qualify. Not the first to win matches at a major. The first to arrive with a number beside her name. There was no previous chapter to compare it with. No earlier achievement to measure against. Only a brand new line in the record book. During her on-court interview in Berlin, Eala was asked what the moment meant. She answered with remarkable perspective. "It's nothing compared to what my parents have sacrificed to bring me here." That single sentence explained everything. Behind every ranking point stood years of sacrifice, thousands of training hours, and countless moments that never appeared on television. But being seeded doesn't guarantee anything. The draw offers no free victories. And round 1 immediately proved why. Waiting across the net is Mexico's Renata Zarazua, a player who has already defeated Eala once before in a hard-fought 3-set match earlier in her development. History doesn't disappear simply because the ranking changes. The number 29 beside Eala's name won't win that match. Her tennis will. Or it won't. That's the beauty and the cruelty of Wimbledon. The danger Alex Eala presents to the rest of the draw is absolutely real. The danger waiting for her on opening day is just as real. Both truths can exist at the same time. And that's what makes this tournament so compelling. Long before Berlin, analysts had already noticed subtle changes in Eala's game. After her Birmingham grasscourt title, several major tennis outlets pointed to technical improvements that extended far beyond one successful week. Her return position had become more aggressive. Her second serve had become far more reliable under pressure. Her drop shot was no longer a desperate escape, it had become a calculated tactical weapon. Berlin didn't create those improvements. Berlin simply revealed them to the world. The victories weren't random. They were evidence that months of work were finally producing visible results. That is why respected analysts didn't describe Berlin as a lucky run. They described it as confirmation. The game had grown. Now the results were finally catching up. When you zoom out, Wimbledon itself makes this story even more fascinating. Grass has always rewarded players arriving with confidence and recent momentum. Unlike other surfaces, grass often ignores rankings. It rewards timing. It rewards rhythm. It rewards belief. Alex Eala arrives carrying all three. A grass court title in Birmingham. 2 top 10 victories in Berlin within 48 hours. A newly earned Wimbledon seed. Yet because she sits just outside the top 20, she remains in the same section of the draw as higher-ranked players who haven't built nearly the same momentum on grass this season. That makes her one of the tournament's most dangerous dark horses. But this story extends well beyond Wimbledon. Back home in the Philippines, every milestone has become national news. Television networks, newspapers, digital platforms, and millions of fans have followed every step of her rise. Social media has celebrated the victory over Rybakina as one of the greatest moments in Philippine tennis history. The excitement isn't the story itself. It's the soundtrack behind it. A nation that has waited decades for a player to break through on the biggest stages is finally watching history unfold in real time. Still, Berlin wasn't perfect. Every breakthrough has its limit. After 4 demanding matches in 5 days, including consecutive victories over top 10 opponents, Eala reached the semifinals running on exhausted legs. Linda Noskova ended the remarkable run in straight sets. The result wasn't surprising. Elite tennis asks extraordinary physical questions. Winning against the world's best on consecutive days is difficult. Doing it 3 days in a row is even harder. Fortunately, Wimbledon begins after 9 days of recovery. Enough time to recharge. Enough time to prepare. Whether it's enough for a deep 2-week run remains one of the biggest questions of this championship. Because surviving the second week of a Grand Slam isn't simply about playing brilliant tennis once. It's about repeating that level over and over again. And now, everything leads to one final image. Not center court. Not the practice courts. Not the press conference. The players' locker room inside the All England club. The official Wimbledon draw hangs on the wall. Champions gather around it. Former finalists study it. Future contenders quietly search for their names. Among them is one name carrying a number that has never appeared beside a Filipina before. Alex Eala, number 29. Whether she wins 1 match or 7, that achievement already belongs to history. Donna Vekic opened the door. Elena Rybakina proved the breakthrough. Aryna Sabalenka confirmed it. The seeding committee simply acknowledged what Berlin had already made impossible to ignore. A seat among the game's elite had been earned. Now comes the part nobody can predict. The tournament begins. The pressure begins. The dream continues. And if this remarkable journey is only getting started, you won't want to miss what happens next. Stay with this channel as we follow every round, every challenge, and every historic step of Alex Eala's Wimbledon campaign.